But yeah, I mean, it takes time.
Yeah. And honestly, like that's why we talk about
I
these.
don't like the word time. That's the wrong term. Consistency. It takes consistency, consistent effort, because nobody has time.
My friend Drew, welcome back to the podcast.
Brad, we're not friends.
What are we? We're brothers.
We're family, as Dominic
Family.
Toretto would say.
Yeah, that's true. And I can't wait for the new one that's coming out next year.
We have to see it together in person, though.
Yeah, maybe this is a good time to tell everyone about our tradition. Drew and I have this tradition to anytime that we go to a Dwayne the Rock Johnson, Mark Wahlberg, or any of the Fast and Furious movies, we always wear suits to be respectful.
Yeah, it's the only way we could pay tribute.
Yeah. If they ever show The Sopranos in theaters, we'd dress up
We
like The
also do that.
Sopranos.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming back on. I'm excited to talk about what we're going to today because this is something you and I are both obsessed about. Maybe obsessed is a strong word, but we both
I'd
love.
say obsessed. I'd say obsessed.
Yeah, I feel that too. But why don't we, before we jump in, let's get a little update on Drew. How you doing? How's training going? Where you at? And that kind of stuff.
Life's good. I announce that I was running a marathon on the last one?
We might have talked about it, but this is a good place to do it because now
I
you're
don't know if we
accountable.
did. Yeah, no, I picked my first marathon. We're doing November 3rd, the Vegas marathon.
Boom.
So excited about that. Got a long a long time, a lot of training beforehand, but getting pumped. So
It'll be good. And the way we're gonna make a segue into what we're talking about today is by that. There's a lot of work that's gonna go into it, but that's what winning is. And that's what we're gonna be talking about today is the book Winning by Tim Grover. It's funny. I remember like when I first told you to read Relentless, which is the first book that Tim Grover wrote. I think I told you I was like, this needs to be I'm assigning it to you as your coach. Like you need to read this book.
yeah.
What did you think about Relentless?
Well, when you first shared it with me, I was like, great, another book to read or
Yeah,
listen to. Or it was like, oh, it's just gonna be another self-help book. But like I feel like the book itself, like the principles that are in it, like just spoke so much to like who I am as a person.
yeah,
Um, so like I felt like I didn't know how to say a lot of things or how to like act on certain things, but like reading that book helped me like understand myself a little bit better.
yeah,
So I feel like a lot of it has become like true to who I am. And it's become like super important to me.
yeah. And I agree with that. Like it's weird you say that because there were times when it was like I don't think anyone feels the same way. Like I would go and accomplish something and be like, I don't feel anything.
Yeah.
But for all those who don't know what we're talking about, Relentless and Winning are both books by Tim Grover. And Tim Grover, he coached his first client actually ever was Michael Jordan, which is insane. I don't know how you get that as your first go around, but anyway, so he coached Michael Jordan, he coached Kobe Bryant and Dwyane Wade, and then he went on to do like business coaching and all this other things to like help get the word out there and all this. But these two books, Relentless was the first one, Winning is the second. Relentless and Winning are both lessons and things that Tim Grover has learned from coaching these people. Relentless is kind of an introductory book that kind of understands like where he came from, all the lessons that made him him, and then the lessons that like Michael and Kobe taught. And then Winning is a little bit more specific into that and goes into what it takes to really win and what that means to win. Because from what Tim Grover says, like winning is not a fun thing to be doing. Like it's not easy, and it's kind of true. Anyways, I just wanted to explain that before we keep going, so people aren't like, "Wait, what? What is this book about?"
And definitely read Relentless before you read Winning, for sure.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Because that's where you learn about closers versus cleaners.
Yeah.
So,
Leave it at
what do you think it means to be a cleaner? Maybe you could talk about that for a sec.
that. Man, I think it's hard to describe what I feel like Tim says it perfectly though. But I mean, I think what it means to be a cleaner is being someone who like doesn't take no for an answer, that doesn't let anyone else tell them what they can do.
Yeah,
Um, someone who doesn't give under pressure, and someone who like I don't know, it's someone who like sets a goal and they will die trying to accomplish that goal.
yeah. And the other thing I love about that is like the cleaner aspect, like that concept. At least the way Tim Grover explains it, he gives the idea of like, there's the closer who can always show up and perform well, but the cleaner is the person who's staying late. And he gives the analogy of like an actual cleaner. You know, you go to work and all the trash cans are full, right? But when you leave and come home or like you come back the next day, they're all empty and the floors are clean and all this stuff. And it's because someone stayed and got that extra work done. And he goes on to say, like, a cleaner is someone who's going to not shy away from the work. And he always talked about how, like, Kobe Bryant was a good example of that. But, anyways, I'm sorry, I keep going on tangents here.
Well, he said Kobe was a perfect example of it, but he also said that with Kobe, he knew he was making Kobe better when he could get him to stop working.
Yeah, that's interesting, too.
Yeah.
There's actually this principle. I can pull it up right here. Have you ever heard of the Matthew principle of self-improvement?
No.
So there are two types of people. Those who don't know how to improve their lives and those who don't know when to stop. And Kobe was probably the latter there. But anyways, a lot that you can learn from them. But I kind of want to kick it off with this. So there is this quote. Tim Grover, he asked all the highest performers what one word they would use to describe winning. Do you remember this part?
Vaguely, yes.
So he goes and he gives all these definitions, and then this is the quote I pulled. He says, "Look at these definitions of winning again: uncivilized, hard, nasty, unpolished, dirty, rough, unforgiving, unapologetic, uninhibited, and everything. If that describes your journey and how you attack your goals, we are speaking the same language."
Yeah. He also said, winning isn't heartless, but you'll use your heart less. That stuck out to me a lot when he was at the beginning of that part.
How come?
Just because, like if you think about all the successful people, like I'm talking like really successful, like the Kobe's, like they don't care about your feelings,
Yeah.
the mega billionaires, they don't care about anyone's feelings, but like they're not going to be heartless. Like they don't, like they're still people. They still love people, but
Yeah.
to get to their goals, they had to use their heart less.
100%. It's like that one famous thing from Kobe, job's not finished, right? It's like
Yeah.
the entire point of that quote of him saying job's not finished is because a reporter asked him, like, "Hey, what's the matter? You're up 2-0. How come you're not happy?" And he's like,
Yeah.
"It's not done." And to that point, it's like he's not using his heart really. He's just focused on the goal, and he hasn't hit it yet. So he's like, "It's not finished."
Yeah. Dude doesn't need to show emotion.
Yeah, but I think that is true. Like sometimes you have to put feelings aside, you have to put emotions aside, and it's a lot harder to do that in practice than it is just to say that. But I always refer back to running, like how it's an example and a good metaphor for life, because there's tons of days when I don't want to put my shoes on. But you have to, if you want to hit the goal, you have to put those emotions aside. It's like, brush it off.
Yeah. You can't let your emotions control your decision making all the time, especially like when you set a goal, and you know what you need to do to achieve that goal. Like sometimes you just need to shut off the emotion and just chase it and work.
Yeah, 100%. It's kind of interesting because, like, obviously, you need to have emotions as a person. Like,
Yeah.
as a husband, Allie would never want to talk to me if I didn't have emotion. But when you're chasing goals and things, like you can't let it aside. And a good example I'll draw to for this is like yesterday when I was on my run. It was, blaring hot. I could have just kept complaining. I could have let my anger take control and started getting mad at stuff, but that wouldn't get me anywhere. So it's like I just have to shut that off and just get the job done. But um, I think it's interesting. Anyways, so I know you have a few quotes. You want to
Yeah.
bring one up?
Yeah. The first one is from when he's talking about time, and he talks a lot about this is actually the chapter that I'm on right now. I haven't finished the book 100%, so I'll just be honest.
It's okay.
But this is the chapter that I'm on right now. He's talking about time, and he talks about how a lot of people say that it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. He said everything's or everything's a sprint.
Yeah.
He's like, if you're talking to a marathon runner, like they're hustling throughout the entire thing. They might go different speeds, but he
Yeah.
said they are 100% giving effort the whole time. And he also kind of goes off that and talks about focus. And so this is the quote that stuck out to me. It says, time tells you what you didn't accomplish. Focus turns off the clock and directs all your energy to the results.
Hmm.
And like tying this back into running, right? Like I feel like, especially as we've been getting more focused on running with like trying to get faster.
Yeah.
Like I felt like I was always chasing that clock, and there was times where I didn't achieve my goal, like, oh, I wanted to do a 9-minute pace, or I want to do 9:30 pace, whatever it was. What changed for me was, instead of focusing on the time, I focused on the work that I needed to do.
Hmm.
Right. I knew, like, we were doing speed workouts, we were doing hill workouts, whatever it was. I knew that those things were going to make me faster. And so instead of focusing on that time and making sure that I was getting faster, I focused on the effort that I was putting in. I focused on the things I knew were going to make me faster, which was those, specific workouts. And I just think it's interesting how, when we change our focus, it doesn't make it so like we have a time, right? Like I think of also work, where we work 9 to 5, like
Yeah.
you accomplish in that 9 to 5. If you turn that off and focus on, or just turn to focus and know what you need to get done, you're going to get way more done.
100%. How do you turn that on? How do you like if there's ever a time when you feel like you're losing your focus, like what do you do to gain it back?
I'll tell you this right now. I've been going through this at work a little bit. Like I feel like sometimes I get distracted. And so sometimes I just need a quick reset, when I get
Yeah.
distracted at work. Where I'll just like step out, take a little walk, and then I'll come back and be better, right? But I think also the other thing is understanding like perspective, and
Mm.
like especially with running, um, like, yes, I know I just said it's not a marathon, but you have to understand that there's like necessary steps that you need to get through, or blocks that you need to achieve before you can, be the all-star runner. And so I think just adding some perspective, and honestly, like taking a break sometimes, like I just sometimes it takes like a little reset almost to get back on track.
Yeah, 100% it does. And like, sorry, I'm pulling this up, but you said something that kind of made me think about this. But I'm reading this essay called "How to Do Great Work" by Paul Graham. It's actually coming out episode 70. I recorded that. You're episode
Nice.
69. That's pretty
Thanks.
sick. But he talks about that, like what it means, or like how everyone kind of has that feeling of either they need to reset or they just need to like figure out how to overcome their procrastination and stuff. Where is this quote? Because it's good. I do this every time that we talk, but pretty much he says like everyone has an initial kind of like step that they have to overcome in order to start working. Like they always feel like and he says like he has to trick himself into working sometimes. And this guy, his name's Paul Graham. He founded Y Combinator, which is like a huge venture capital firm. Um, he's a multi-billionaire. And so like if this guy's even saying like, yeah, sometimes I have to trick myself into working, and how he does that is like he's like, oh, I'm just gonna go, check my email for 5 minutes, and then he usually finds something and he's off. But kind of what you're talking about with focus, like sometimes it's just like you know what you need to be doing. So maybe if you just sit there and you start to try and do those things, then that focus will come. And I think you're right. Like I think it takes time to develop that. It's like a marathon training, right? Like you can't go out and run an ultra if you just ran a half marathon, unless I don't know. Some people can. Anomalies, I will say.
Yeah.
But to your point, like there's different steps, and I think the same thing you can say with your focus, like because everyone's different and people are motivated by different things, and so your focus is going to be different than other people's. But yeah, anyways, that's kind of where I was going with that. All over the place.
Yeah, me too.
But I think it like he talks about Kobe and Michael and how one thing that they have that he saw as an advantage was that they were both very present.
Yeah.
And that's something I've been working on with Allie quite a bit, is like just being in the moment whenever we're together. But then also just like, throughout the day, I try and find a couple times to be present.
Well,
but
I think along with that too, he said this kind of goes back to just time. Is he says that you don't have time. Like whatever you're working on, you don't have time. Like a lot of people, going back to procrastinating, or even like with relationships or business, whatever it is, like you don't have time, so don't waste it.
yeah,
Like, that's part of being present. That's a part of focus, right? Is having that realization that we don't have time. Any one of us
100%.
to wake up or not wake up tomorrow,
It's
like
crazy. You never know.
you don't have time. Like you need to focus and be present and work hard.
Is there anything you do to help you remain in the moment?
Um, I would feel like, especially coming from like home from work, the thing that I do is I'll either listen to an audiobook
Hmm.
or I'll listen to like scriptures or something that's like super mellow,
Yeah.
so that when I come home, like I had that basically is my time to like think or space out and like kind of decompress. Because that way when I come home, like I want my kids to know that I love them, and I
Yeah.
want to have my attention. So I feel like in that aspect, like for my personal life, like I need that decompression when I come home. But yeah, I mean it's the same thing. Like I don't know, I kind of look at my life in like time blocks.
Yeah.
I don't
No,
know
I
if that
do the
makes sense.
same.
But like I'll wake up in the morning, I'll go to the gym, I'll do my workout or run, and then even when I'm going to work, I'll also listen to like chill music. Like I've noticed if I listen to like loud music or even audiobooks, like it doesn't set my mind right for the day. And so
Yeah.
like I'll kind of use those breaks that I have to kind of set my mind up for where I'm at. Because like you don't need to be present 100% of your time. Like you don't need to be present while you're driving in the car alone. You know, and so, I mean, I just essentially use that time in between those blocks to kind of set my mind straight, so that when I am at work or if I'm at home, I'm
Yeah.
in like there 100%.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's like the same concept that James Clear talks about when he's like, if you're trying to be productive or if you're trying to build a new habit, he's like, change your environment. And to that point, that's kind of like a way of you changing your environment, like setting the tone with music, or, you're in the car just thinking through things. Because to your point, like I do the same thing. Like when I'm driving to the gym, it's a completely different mind shift. Yeah.
Mindset.
Mindset. Thank you.
Yeah.
A completely different mindset than when I'm driving to work. Cause then like I'm thinking about business problems instead of, oh man, I have to run 10 miles. Like you have to set yourself up. And I think the best way to be present in the moment is almost to prepare. Like, that's why Allie and I have dementia. It's like So we prepare throughout the day by finding things we want to talk about, and then when we're together, it's like that's all we're doing is together. Um, so I don't know, but I like that. I think it's important to be able to control your focus and all that. But I'll say a quote. You want me to drop
Yeah.
one?
Yeah.
So this is from Tim's Winning 13. And the Winning 13 are just each of the chapters of the book. But one of the chapters, um, I'll just say this, but here's the quote: winning takes you through hell, and if you quit, that's where you'll stay. And that's the biggest truth. And that's honestly why I put it on here, is because I have felt that 1,000 times. Like,
Yeah.
quitting is the worst feeling, because if you quit, then you're always thinking about it. And what's your thoughts on that? What do you think about, like,
I'm on
you
the
know,
same page, like 100%. Like, I don't know. I always feel like I talk about running too much when I'm on here, but like running is just
okay,
like huge part of like my life right now. But like Thursday, perfect example. Um, I got like 3 miles in. I think I had stopped 4 times already,
hmm,
and I was like done. Like I was like, this sucks. And then I knew that, you and I were going to talk later that day, and I was going to tell you, yeah, dude, I quit. And I was like, I can't live with that. And then so I got back on. I was like, I'd rather run the 4 miles I had left than have that conversation with you and not just let you down, but let me down, you know?
yeah,
Um, and after that point, like I felt like my day was so much better because it was like I knew that I pushed through that, and it was so hard, at least for me mentally. I wasn't going 6 minute pace, like it was like a pretty average pace. I think it was like 9:30 or whatever. But like I knew that if I had stopped, I would have 100% thought about it the rest of the day. And I also would have like hated coming to you and be like, yeah, dude, I quit halfway through my run.
I know it's the worst feeling. It
It'll
really
eat
is.
you up.
Yeah, and it's like, um, yeah. I mean, if you what I'll say about it. Like, obviously, there's times when you should quit. Like, if the goal isn't for you, if it's like not producing the results you want, if it's producing a negative effect in your life, then maybe you should quit. If it's something you don't enjoy, like, I quit piano this year, but it's because I was like, this is not for me. I thought I would like it, but I don't. But what I think makes this quote a little bit more personal is like, if there's something you know you can do, but you quit because you were feeling those emotions. And that's why I think it's important that you need to control your emotions, because if you don't, then those chances to quit are just going to present themselves more and more.
Yeah.
It's like you have to be
I
careful.
I don't like that word quit, by the way. And
What would you say?
I don't think you quit piano. I think it goes back to my first quote that Tim talks about, right? Where that wasn't your ultimate goal,
Mm,
right? Your ultimate goal was either running for your marathon to beat sub 3, or your ultra. I don't remember the timeline of when you started playing piano, but you focused on what your
yeah,
overall goal was, and you cut out what you didn't have time for.
that's true.
Because you might come back to playing piano,
Yeah,
but I think that's like, I don't think the word quit is right. I think it's just shifting your focus
that's
back to
fair.
back to what your ultimate goal is.
Yeah. No, I like that. That's a good point, because yeah, I guess you can say like I didn't quit it. Like I can go do it at any time. It's just right now
Yeah.
is not the right time.
Yeah.
Um,
I think quitting is like, I think like you said, it's like, you could do this, you have the time for it, it's a part of your goal, and you choose not to do it.
yeah,
Like, I don't know that, because like piano wasn't a part of that. Part
right.
wasn't a part of your training, and you just had to refocus because I don't know. I think quitting to me is personal. I freaking hate quitting.
Yeah, it
Like,
sucks.
there's nothing worse than like knowing I could have done something, like I knew I needed to get it done and I didn't get it done.
Yeah, worst feeling.
Yeah. So
But
it's not quitting, it's just refocusing.
yeah, I like that. That's a good way to shift it. But um, what keeps you from quitting when you're in those days when in those moments? And you can't say me, you can't say because you're going to talk to me or something like that, because it for sure comes from within.
Yeah.
Um, but when you're in those moments, what keeps you going? Like when you want to pull the trigger and you're like, I'm done. What keeps you going?
So, I mean, I think there's a lot of aspects that we could talk about. When it comes to running, a lot of it is obviously you, but or the conversations we're going to have. But I think the biggest thing is I understand that what I'm putting myself through is going to help me achieve my goal.
Yeah,
Right. The other thing is like, I don't want my kids to think their dad's weak. Like that is something I think about a lot when it comes to just like life decisions or life goals or anything. Like that's a huge thing is like I want to be able to look back and be like, I'm proud of myself.
yeah,
And I want the kids to look back and be like, oh, I'm proud of dad. But honestly, I think the biggest thing though is just like if I if I'm going into something, I understand that what I'm going to be doing is going to help me achieve my goal. That's always in the back of my head, and I know that I need to complete it. Otherwise, I'm not going to achieve my goal. So
yeah,
I think, especially like with running, that's probably the biggest thing that sits in my head is like, well, I know that this is going to help me run a marathon, or I know this is going to help me knock 30 seconds off my pace, and I just need to get in and do it, and then it'll be over.
yeah. That's good. I like that actually. And then I agree with all those things that you said about like just maintaining that perspective. Something that's helped me actually a lot is this comes from Goggins, but someone asked him that same question at like a conference, and his response was that he always asks, "What if? Like, what if he could do this thing? Like, what would that look like, and how would he feel?" Because honestly, like when I'm on those runs where I have to do 24 miles and it's just so long, like I always tell myself stories like, no, like maybe you don't need to finish this one. Like everyone does that.
Yeah.
Like, your coach would understand. Like I'm telling myself all these stories, but really the loudest voice is the one that says, what if? Like, what if you're able to accomplish this? And what if you just, keep doing what you're doing? So when you go and race barriers, like, what if you run your best? And so like that keeps me going is like just that curiosity of, well, what if I do accomplish this?
It's funny you say that because I asked myself the same question. I can't remember who I follow a lot of like fitness influencers.
Yeah.
And I can't remember who said it. And the way he said it,
It's
like
probably Mike O'Hearn.
I don't know if it was Mike O'Hearn. I think it was like Sam Dancing, like some random CrossFitter from like 10 years ago that I
All
started
right.
watching. Um, but someone said like, and I think they were talking about like working out and like showing that their kids, that they can do hard things. He said, I don't know, he said something like, I think about, maybe I should quit or maybe I should stop. And then he says, well, if you didn't, and he said it just like that. I feel like sometimes like that in my head, that'll like pop in my head when I'm running or working out. It's like, what if you didn't,
Well, if you
And just,
didn't,
like the way he said it, it just like stuck in my head. So I
I
say
like
that.
that.
So what if you didn't?
When we make getting after it shirts, when merch time comes, we're gonna get a quote that says, "Well, if you didn't,
What if you didn't?
yeah." That
True.
way, people are like, "What does that mean?" It's like, what if you didn't quit?
Yeah. What if you didn't?
Maybe that'll be the theme of next Team Tim. Allie, if you're listening to this, what do you think about that? Thank you.
What if you didn't?
What if you didn't? That's pretty good. But no, I like all those things. Um,
Ready for
and
my next quote?
yeah, let's hear it actually.
Okay. So I'm a huge Rocky fan.
Ooh,
So I'm going to tie this into Rocky a little bit.
I'm
So
ready.
one says, when you've been knocked down, confidence gives you the patience to stay down for a minute until you know how to get up better than you were before. Most people jump right back up because they don't want to look weak and damaged and then immediately get knocked down again. When you're confident in your ability to recover, you know you'll never be weak or damaged again.
Hmm.
And I think I want to say it was either Rocky 3 or it could have been one of the Creed movies. But there's a scene where they strategically planned this in their fight. I think Rocky had already been a champion, so obviously, obviously I know he's fake, but he had the mindset of a
We could
champion.
pretend he's real.
Yeah, he had confidence, but he gets knocked down. I'm pretty sure it was three, because three, there was like a huge difference between like I can't Mr. T, like Mr. T's endurance or something like
Oh
that.
yeah, that's the Mr. T one.
But he gets knocked down and he looks over, and I think it's Stitch, I think his name. He used to be in the corner for Apollo Creed, but anyway, he looks over at him and he's like, stay down, stay down. He's like telling him to catch his breath, and he catches his breath and he gets back up and he fights. He takes a couple seconds, and I
Yeah,
think there's a lot of boxers that do that, but like that's why I think you have to be confident, in that ring to be able to take the full 10 seconds, or full 8 seconds, or whatever they allow you before they disqualify you,
yeah,
to then get back up and start fighting. And I don't know, I think, there's a lot of things in life that can set us back. And instead of like reacting instantly, it's okay to take a step back, get our feeding or footing right, and
yeah.
then attack.
I love that. And why do you think like getting knocked down builds your confidence back up?
I mean, there's no security, you know,
Yeah,
and I think a little bit of it is fight or flight, like you get to see who you are as a person when there's no security.
yeah.
I think a good example of this, and like I know I'm not perfect, by the way, but in
You're a nice man.
was it 2020 when Swello shut down?
2021.
Talked about Swello on here.
A little bit. I've
Yeah,
alluded to
so
it.
Swello was a company that our brother started, and it got shut down. And I remember the day that it got shut down, like driving home and knowing that I didn't have a job. I had no prospects of a job because it shut down so suddenly. Um, and like I don't ever really remember panicking,
Hmm.
being like, "Oh, how am I going to pay my bills?" Like that thought never came across. Like I knew that I was talented. Like and I gained that from Swello. It was like like in the realm of marketing, I knew I was talented, but
Yeah,
also I knew that I could outwork anyone.
yeah,
So I knew that I was going to find a job, anywhere. And I did within like, I want to say within 2 weeks, I had a job. And I was starting right like that same, you know, time frame. But like I didn't like panic. Like I think a lot of people sometimes will just like freak out and like instantly like jump into some like a job that they wouldn't want.
yeah,
And then be looking for a new job within a month. And that was never my mindset. My mindset was I'm going to find something that I want, and that's something that I feel like I could do for a while. And I think I was there for a year and a half before making a change. But yeah, like I don't know. Like I think that there's so many like aspects in life that it could really relate to us, where instead of just like freaking out, reacting based off of your emotions, like just taking your time and like being confident in yourself,
yeah,
um, I think it'll pay off.
yeah. I love everything that you said. And confidence is like it's hard to master, but it's so important for anything that you do. Like you have to be confident in the things that you're trying to pursue. And I was going to ask you this: where did that confidence come from in you? Where like when you lose your job, you're like, you know what? I know I got talent. I know I'm going to get picked up. It's just going to be a matter of time. But like, where did that come from?
I mean, I think it just comes from persevering through through life. But
Yeah,
I don't know. I've done a lot of hard things. Um, like and it started from when I was a kid, and like it would be small things. Like sometimes it was just yard work, or sometimes it was like a project that we had to go do something. But like I just knew that I'm a hard worker.
yeah,
And I feel like that's really where my confidence come from, is understanding that I know that I will outwork anyone I have to. Or, outwork any, what's the, trying to think of the right word, like, if I don't know how to do something, I know I'm going to work harder than anyone to know how to do that.
Yeah,
So like I feel like that's where a lot of it comes from for myself, is just like I know that if it matters to me, I'll work hard to accomplish it.
100%. Um, I love this quote from Alex Hormozy. You know who he is?
Yeah.
But he has this quote. He says, "You don't become confident by shouting affirmations in the mirror, but by having a stack of undeniable proof that you are who you say you are. Outwork your self doubt." And that's like nails right on the head right there. Like, the only way you're going to build confidence is by doing things you didn't think you could in the first place, and then working relentlessly at at those goals. And that's how you overcome self-doubt. That's how you become confident.
Yeah.
That's why we do Team Tim. Is like all these people who are like, yeah, I'm not a runner. I don't run. We're like, okay, well, come run for cancer, and people can't say no to that.
Yeah.
And then they come and they see that they do it, and they're like, hey, actually, I can do that. That's cool. And
Yeah.
some people go on to keep running, like you. Some people will just show up next year, but it's like it doesn't matter. It's like that's a difficult thing, and it builds your self confidence. Which is, something that both Michael and Kobe had, was just incredible self confidence,
And
um,
work ethic.
and work ethic. How do you balance the line though between confidence and cockiness?
I don't know. It's hard. I feel like I've been so cocky this whole, like, anytime I get on here and I'm talking about myself, I feel that way. But I think I think cockiness would be like, if I was going into a job interview for, let's say, a sales position,
Yeah.
and like someone was asking me about my sales history or whatever, and I think cockiness would be just talking about it.
Hmm.
Versus like if I were to go into it and be like, hey, look, I don't have any sales experience, but I know I'm a hard worker, or like, I mean, I'm not giving advice on interviews, but you know what I mean? Like, I think that's like, I think being cocky is like you're talking about it. You can't shut up about yourself. I think confidence is, you're putting in the hard work behind the scenes, and that's what's giving you confidence. Like if you look at Michael and Kobe, I mean, they talked trash on the court, but that was all
Oh
my,
yeah.
but like, I don't know, like I don't feel like Michael or Kobe were like super cocky guys. And mind
No.
you, I didn't grow up during Michael. I grew up a little bit during Kobe, but like Kobe always had like this F around and find out mentality. Like he'd be like, he would never really talk about it. He would just be like, yeah, let's show it on the court.
Yeah.
I think
That's the
that's the
Mamba.
difference between cockiness and confidence, is just that, like, show it on the court. That's confidence.
Yeah. I would agree with that. And everything that you said, the work that you put in builds your confidence. And like, I'm going to bring this to the ultra. Like, I'm working so hard for this race. So when I show up on race day, I have that confidence. And I'm like, hey, you know what? I've trained. I've done what I know I needed to do. I can do this.
Yeah.
And then cockiness would be like, I think if I walked into work and I was like, hey, oh, you guys haven't run an ultra? Oh, I just
Yeah.
did. I think
Yeah.
that's the difference between being cocky and being confident.
I also, I don't know, and might not be right. I also think you walking into the ultra and expecting you to be first place. That's cockiness.
Yeah. Okay.
You
That's a
know?
good, yeah.
But going into it knowing that no matter what you're gonna finish it, that's confidence, because that's something that you can control, especially with something that's unknown to you.
Yeah. That's a good point. Okay. Um, yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
You ready for my next quote?
Yeah, I am.
This is about distractions and all this stuff. He had this big piece on distractions, how they can take you away from your goals. But he says, even worse than doubts are distractions. which are disastrous to completing your goals. The deadliest are mental distractions, such as procrastinating on things that you need to get done. The best way to combat these distractions is to set a routine. Not an easy routine, but a physically and mentally demanding one that challenges you. I thought that was interesting because I was thinking about the last part, like develop a routine that's not easy, but physically and mentally challenging. And I think the reason he says that is because if you have an easy routine, then you can distract yourself like way faster than you could if it was something that you were doing that's difficult, you know? Like you can't solve a complex problem and be on TikTok, but you can scroll through your emails and check your emails and scroll on TikTok. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like, I think you just have to demand that from yourself. Like, no matter what, like, if I want to be the best at what I do, then I have to limit the distractions.
Yeah. I
Um,
I can talk to the routine.
yeah,
I think I've mentioned this before, but like I don't feel like I was a very routine person, but I am very much so now. Like um after we put the kids to bed, my routine is I pack my lunch for tomorrow. I pack my bag so I could go to the gym and shower. And then I also like put out my workout clothes and anything else, whether it's like pre-workout or like my pre-workout food before my run. Like I lay all that out so that when I wake up, there's no discussion in my head. There's no
yeah,
like contemplating, am I going to do this? Am I going to go? Like, it's just, I wake up, that's ready. I go, there's no excuses on why I can't go. And then I do it. And then that just kind of like leads into the rest of my day where it's like, okay, you know, going back to my drive to the gym, I have the mindset, the music. Once I'm done with the gym, I set up for work by listening to the right kind of music. Then
yeah,
I work and then break down and then come home and like that's just doing it. And like this whole weekend, my wife was gone and I had the kids and like my whole routine was just like
all over
thrown
the place.
all over the place.
Yeah,
And I tell a difference, um, like mentally.
yeah,
Like I caught myself like when I was running, I caught myself drifting way more versus like when I'm in my routine and I'm running, I feel like I almost have tunnel vision when I run. You know, like I'm able just to block things out and just like focus on my run or black
yeah,
out, kind of wake up when I'm done. But like I just noticed that like my mindset like kind of throughout this whole weekend was just all over the place because my routine broke a little bit. So
yeah. And like that's the thing too. Um, because like there's lots of people who talk about routines. Um, I don't necessarily think you have to have like a specific, I need to do this at this time, this at this time.
yeah,
But I think you need to have a certain, like, you need to have certain things that you do every single day.
yeah,
Like working out, that could be in the morning, that could be in the middle of the day or at night. Like, it doesn't matter. But
yeah,
I think everyone should work out because, like, we don't move a lot. You need that activity. And to your point, like, yeah, when you find things like that you want to do, how do you make it easier? For me, I do the same thing. I lay my clothes out so there's no excuse in the morning and I just toss it on and go. Like, no distractions. It's there. But routines help me at least avoid distractions. That's like part of my routine every single day is when right before bed, I drink electrolytes and I journal. And journaling just helps me get an idea of where I'm at with my goals and then plan for the next day. Um, but when we were talking about that and avoiding distractions and everything, so here's this essay by Paul Graham. It's a super long one, but how to do great work. He starts talking about this thing of like what it means to demand the best from yourself. And I think you can take a lot of this and apply it to what Tim Grover talks about in winning. Um, but here's what he says. He says, and that is what you're aiming for, because if you don't try to be the best, you won't even be good. It could be because ambition is a phenomenon where almost all the error is in one direction, where almost all the shells that miss the target miss by falling short. Or it could be because ambition to be the best is a qualitatively different thing from ambition to be good. Or maybe being good is simply too vague a standard. I love that. It's like you won't be your best unless you demand that for yourself.
yeah,
Um, and Avoiding distractions is the only way you're going to be your best. And it's like, as hard as it is, because we have our attention grabbed in every direction nowadays, it's like that is so important to master if you can. I can't imagine what you're like because you got 3 kids.
It's just easy, man. Like, I just, like I said, like I look at my life in blocks and time blocks,
Yeah,
and that makes
smart.
it easy for me to manage it, like, and a lot of those time blocks are, agreed upon between me and my wife.
Yeah,
Like I know that the only time every day that I'm going to exercise, which is the thing that I look forward to the most because it's 100% me time, is the morning. It's the early morning,
yeah,
before work. And so like I don't know, it just makes it easier when I know what I'm supposed to be doing. Like I'm not saying like I have, you know, 8 o'clock, 8 a.m. to
yeah,
9:30, like it's not like that. It's just like mental time blocks where I know what I'm supposed to be doing, and it just makes it a lot easier to manage
yeah.
all the responsibilities that I have in life.
I think one of the most important pieces of developing good routines is developing flexible ones. Like
Yeah.
being able to shift things around when you need to, because that's how you stick to them.
Yeah.
Like if you're unable to stick to it, you probably won't. So it's like I
And it
admire
takes
that.
time too.
Yeah,
Like I've been waking up and working out in the early morning since when did we start?
man.
2017?
I just did week 17. Oh, you mean yeah, you and I? Probably
Yeah.
2017, yeah.
Because I didn't really wake up early until, I mean, like I was always up. Like I've been ever since I graduated from high school, my brain has just automatically woken me up at 6 a.m. every day. But
Yeah.
I feel like actually early morning workouts started in 2017, and that took a while to like that become a habit. And then even when I moved down to Arizona and you and I weren't workout buddies anymore, it took me time to get back into that rhythm. And
Yeah.
now it's just like clockwork. Like I'm just up. Even if I don't have to work out, like on Sundays, I'm up. I'm up at 6, or 7. I give myself a little bit of grace on Sundays, but I'm
As
usually
you
up at
should.
7, and I take care of the kids until my wife wakes up. Like I let her sleep in on Sundays. But yeah, I mean, it takes time.
Yeah. And honestly, like that's why we talk about
I
these.
don't like the word time. That's the wrong term. Consistency. It takes consistency, consistent effort, because nobody has time.
Yeah, I like that. That's way better. Bringing it back to winning.
Bringing it back
Um,
to winning.
but I do like that. And I think to your point, like some people might listen to this and be like, yeah, well, that's nice. That works for you. And so that's like the point of these kind of conversations is like try some of this stuff. And if it
Yeah.
works for you, great. If it doesn't, try something else. But consistently try new things so you can develop these routines. And like to your point, that consistency will lead you to find a flexible routine that makes you want to be a better person. As weird as that sounds, it's the
Now,
truth.
I think this is a perfect time to segue into my third quote.
Let's hear it.
Like
I'm ready.
this aligns pretty well. And I have to admit, I didn't steal this from Winning. I stole it from Relentless, his first book.
It's okay.
But it says, "You don't become unstoppable by following the crowd. You get there by doing something better than anyone else can do it and proving every day why you are the best at what you can do."
Hmm.
And the reason, like, I feel like this is kind of ties in and is like, I feel like we're saying a lot of things that some people might hear and be like, screw these guys. Like, they're a bunch
Yeah.
of, which, like, they're not wrong. But um, I think one of a perfect example is you. Like, in my mind, you are Mr. Discipline. Like, you like have the highest tier of discipline out of anyone in my life that I know. Like, and sometimes, you know, I remember feeling like it was a fault of yours sometimes,
Yeah. I get
like,
called out all the time.
yeah, like I felt like it was frustrating sometimes, like how some things couldn't go another way, or how it's like, Brett, you don't have to wake up every Saturday at 5 a.m. to work out. Like we can go camping, or
Yeah.
whatever. But like for myself, I've made these decisions in my head. A lot of it, like some of it's around running, some of it's around like goals of where I want to be in the next 10 years. And like honestly kind of following in your footsteps, but just knowing, like, just being disciplined and knowing, like, well, I have to wake up and run every Saturday. I have to do this, like whatever it is. Um, choosing to do that, it's like I'm trying to think of the right way to say this. Like, choosing to do that is going to change the way people look at you,
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter because
Doesn't.
if you're chasing a goal, if you're trying to become something, like whether it's like for me, I'm trying to do my marathon, but also I have a lot of financial goals that I want to achieve in the next 10 years. Like,
Yeah.
I want to be in this house in the next 10 years. I want to be in a bigger house so that my kids, have um a lot of room
Yeah.
because now we're super tight, but choosing to do those things and being consistent and doing it over and over again, like sometimes it's going to rub people the wrong way, but ultimately, like, you'll find inner happiness. Like, I don't think that I've ever been this happy in my life
Yeah.
because I'm working hard. I'm doing the things that I love, which is running, which is, helping me be disciplined, helping me stay fit. But then also, like, specifically after reading these two books, like, I feel like it's been easier for me to understand myself and know that, like, I'm just going to keep working hard and keep going. And
Yeah.
people might not like that. People might look at me and be like, dude, why do you have to do it this way? Like, why can't we do it another way? But like, it doesn't matter because I'm the one chasing my goals, and it's
Yeah.
okay. And honestly, like, if you look at Kobe and Michael, like, everyone looks at the product of their hard work, their dedication, right? They look at the 6 championships, the 5 championships. Like, I look at Jordan and I see literally the smartest businessman ever because he
Yeah.
signed a deal with Nike for life that pays him commission off of every pair of shoe that's sold. Like,
Insane.
like I look at him like that, but he's like icon, like straight up, he's an icon. But we all see the product, we all see like, oh yeah, but I guarantee you, throughout his path to success to who he is now, like, he pissed people off. I mean, he pissed people off during his career.
Oh yeah.
But you think
All the
Michael
time.
Jordan sits there and thinks about the people that he upset or that
Not
people
a
like?
chance.
No, he's sitting there thinking about, what am I going to spend my $250 million I made off Nike this year? You know?
Yeah, 100%.
So I don't know. I feel like that quote to me just was like, it's okay to be different. It's okay to, like, focus on yourself, and obviously you don't want to be completely selfish, but you have to be
Yeah.
selfish along the
Yeah,
journey. So
100%. And you said a lot of stuff there that
I
I got
know.
to go into. No, that was good. That was a really good thing. But like first and foremost, thanks for saying all that stuff about me being disciplined. I try. Um, but I think it's because I understood from a pretty early, like when we first started working out, and I think it was like when we were up in Rexburg, 2017. Jocko came out with a book called Discipline Equals Freedom. And it's like the most simple book, and no hate on Jocko, but it could have been written by like a middle schooler. Cause like you open it up and it's like sugar coated lies. He's like, they
yeah,
don't help you. Donuts make you bad. Sugar's bad for you. But it was all these like simple things, um, pretty much explaining why discipline equals freedom. Like he says in it, if you want to have financial freedom, just control how you spend, be disciplined in your spending, and you'll be surprised. It'll come.
yeah,
Um, Same thing with like nutrition. It's like you don't want to gain weight, just be disciplined in how you eat. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, like discipline is something you have to strengthen. It's a muscle. It's like the same thing with anything else that you do. It takes time, but it's like if you're consistent with being disciplined, it'll make it easier. It's like
yeah,
anything in life. If you're consistent, it just gets easier over time. Um, but discipline really is like Jocko says, freedom, because then you don't have to worry about a lot of other issues. And it goes back to that one poem you and I love, "Choose Your Hard."
yeah,
It's like you can choose the hard of, you know, being different, or choose the hard of being average.
yeah,
And to your point about like being different, like it doesn't get better. Like it honestly gets worse. People are going to be like, "What the heck? You're running an ultra marathon? Are you insane? Like, what's going on with you?" Like, It gets worse.
Yeah.
But again, it's like I don't care because they're goals that I'm excited about. And um, Cam Hanes talks about that, like the haters. He always talks
Yeah.
about the haters. But he says that they always give their advice and their feedback because they see what he's doing and realize that they'll never be able to achieve it themselves. And so they have to drag him down. And I'm like, that's an interesting way to look at it because, yeah, I think some people will look at your discipline in running and in how hard you work and like as you try and get these financial goals and say like, dang, he's he's going far. Maybe if I just like tell him like, why are you doing this? Like it'll slow him down a little bit.
I
You know?
I feel like I did that to you a lot.
You
You
just,
know,
I
like
mean, you're
when
learning, you
you
just brush
started.
it off.
I know when you started running and stuff. I remember being like, "That's stupid." You know,
Yeah,
like legit. I think I even said that to you. That's stupid. Like because at that time I was like, "I'll never run. Like that's
yeah,
dumb. I'll never do it." But you know, with like you said, I guess with time it just shifts. You know.
yeah. And that's okay. Like everyone's gonna have different timelines, but point of like we're trying to make is these decisions aren't easy to make. Winning and all this stuff, like it's hard to do,
Yeah.
but the reward is way like more beneficial than you can ever imagine. And um, I saw this reel the other day. I'll try and explain it for the listeners and all this stuff. But this guy was talking about what success is, and he was saying that like if you think about an iceberg, success is the very tip, and you don't see underneath the surface where it's just like hard work, dedication, like tears, like all this stuff. He just like lists off what goes into that top of the iceberg. Um, and he's like, all this, like at the bottom, that's where you spend 99% of your time. But at
Yeah.
the top, that 1% outweighs everything. And that's what you strive for. And that's what you want. And that's what keeps you going. And it's like, that's the same with this winning. And that's why he says, like, winning is not easy. And that's why, like, all those words uncivilized, hard, nasty, unpolished. He's explaining that because of the bottom of the iceberg. Like,
Yeah.
there's so much that goes into it that winning isn't this glorious thing that a lot of people think it is. Like, it's pain.
They see the product.
Yeah, 100%.
That's all they see is the product. They don't see the work that was done in the shadows. And that's why, Kobe and Michael were so feared.
Yeah,
Is because like, I don't know, they just didn't people didn't realize how much work was being put, in the back end.
yeah. Pretty wild.
Yeah.
But anything else on winning you want to bring up?
Those were the quotes that I brought.
Right on. I I'll finish with this last quote that he says.
Yeah.
Winning is everything. That actually came from Michael Jordan. He tells a story in the book where he's asking all these people, he's asking business owners, he's asking other athletes, like one word that they use to describe winning. And Michael Jordan said everything. And it's again like, you know, suffering through all that pain, putting in all that hard work. Winning is everything in that process. Like it's the very tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
And it's hard to do, but do you want to be a winner or you want to be a loser? Just don't quit.
Yeah. Be consistent.
Be consistent. That's all I got, man.
I was gonna say, I don't think anything else needs to be said.
Nothing else needs to be said. The only thing we need to know about is what happened in BBL Jersey. Any update on the beef?
Uh,
Did Drake just release a new album or a new song?
I don't know. I might be behind, but I mean, we all know that Kendrick Lamar won, so it doesn't really matter.
I think Metro Boomin won.
Yeah, that's true. He did release BBL Drizzy. You're
BBL
right.
Jersey came out and everyone thought about
Everyone
that.
got silent, dude. Everyone stopped making
Yeah.
songs for that.
He said,
Oh, Drake was on a Sexy Red song, and he actually rapped on BBL Drizzy.
really?
Yes.
He's trying to use it in his favor.
Yeah, but it was on a song with Sexy Red, so he already lost 20 points, you know.
You know what I listened to yesterday on
Bryant.
my run?
Oh, what?
No Vaseline by Ice Cube. You want to talk about rap beef?
That was the best
That was the best.
track ever.
It ain't over, mother.
That honestly might be the best rap song ever.
So good.
Yeah, it's the best.
Them guys, yellow and whatever, wearing lipstick and drag.
So good.
Yeah, you can't
Yeah,
talk about rap beef until you listen to Ice Cube.
yeah. He was
And
the
then
king.
Biggie and Tupac, like, come on.
Yeah.
That's why,
Have you heard the rumors that P Diddy's a CIA informant, and that's why he's not going to go to prison?
P Diddy is a CIA informant.
It's a conspiracy theory out there that he's a CIA asset. I think is the correct term. Asset.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, you know who I think is a CIA asset, actually?
Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson probably is like a global spy because everyone
Yeah.
loves him. But I was going to say DJ Khaled because he comes out with an album maybe once every 2 years, but he's balling out of control.
Yeah.
He doesn't really do much, but
Also, have you seen him on a jet ski?
he's so fast on a jet ski.
So fast on a jet ski.
Yeah,
He
it's
had
insane.
to have had some CIA training on that jet ski.
At least.
Yeah.
And the way he talks about like cocoa butter, it's probably he puts that on so he can like slide through crevices and sneaky places.
Yeah. Guaranteed he's a certified slitherer. He's slithering everywhere.
Yeah, DJ Khaled knows how to slither.
Yeah. Heard it here first.
You heard it here first. And on that note, appreciate everyone for listening, Drew. Love you to death, man. Thanks for coming on again.
Yeah. I'll be back for episode 420.
420, you're coming on. This is 69.
Yeah.
We'll also have you on at 666 just for fun.
Yeah.
We can wear devil horns when that comes.
Yeah. I think Brett, just saying, I think that you need to do an episode post ultra, like right then and there.
To where I'm just brain dead?
Where you're brain dead, and I'll be the host that time.
I would be interested in that. Like,
All right.
I wouldn't be able to formulate thoughts, but yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, let's do it.
Has to be within 30 minutes to an hour of when I'm done.
Yep, no showers allowed.
Yeah, I'll just come in there crusty and won't even know what's going on.
Exactly.
All right, well, we have that to look forward to. And until that point, everyone, thanks for listening and keep getting after it.